Gooch Live, brought to you by the good people at the Hockey News and Sports Illustrated. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the...
Hey, Paul Rosen, the Gooch. It's the Gouche and Rosey show. Just having a couple issues here again, technically. Hey, how are you, buddy? Always a pleasure being with you. But more importantly, it's always more exciting at Gooch Live with the Gouche and Rosey show because I'm the producer, you're the main guy, and we got a great show. We got Stephen Campbell all the way from Canberra. He's in Vancouver. I'm in Toronto. You're in Halifax. We've covered the whole gamut of Canada.
I'm in Nova Scotia. I'm not in Halifax.
Well,
where am I now? In Digby? Yeah. So, anyways, we're just driving right now. But the great thing about us, Gooch, is that we do our show, whether we do it every day or we have to wait a couple of weeks, whatever. We're all over the world. I'm in a car in the passenger seat with my buddy going through beautiful Nova Scotia, rural Nova Scotia. My buddy Justin Gochem started Para Power Play. Anybody that's watching from wherever you are in the world, Google Para Power Play, what Justin is doing now to get the disabled community to feel equal down in Nova Scotia, and then eventually from Nova Scotia all across Canada, eventually all across the world.
All right, we've been talking about it. We're going to get Justin on the next couple of days. We got some incredible jerseys, a bunch of announcements to make. But today's all about...
Yeah, you're bringing those jerseys down. We'll talk about that next week before you get down here.
Yeah, exactly. All right, listen, we got Stephen Campbell waiting patiently in Vancouver. But before I go there, I do have to touch on one spot. Obviously, it's the Gouche and Rosey show. We've been doing this, I don't even tell you, like for 5-6 years now. We're going on to our sixth. It's over 300 shows with the Gouche Live, with the Paul Rosen. It's just incredible how many shows we've done, and we're still no good at it. That's what's killing me. Obviously,
well, we're trying our best, and we started it just before COVID started. It's been quite a while. I'm going to say forget 300. We're probably close to 1,000 shows.
Well, okay, that's crazy, but it is 300. Hey, listen,
maybe only a half dozen of them have been good, but it's been over 1,000 shows.
Only the ones you've been on. Listen, just before we get into talking to Stephen Campbell, the great things that he's doing, and we're kind of connected, and we'll talk about all that. I have to touch upon this. Obviously, the Hockey News has been great to us. We got a chance to see our good friend Graham Roustan. Stephen got to meet him. The Hockey Hall of Fame induction was just this weekend. It was incredible. It was a great event. Obviously, you and I know everybody and in the hockey industry. I couldn't get to enough people. I met one of my favorite, Esa Tikkanen, right off the bat.
I saw that. Tika Lang. What's his language called?
Tikkanese. And you know what's crazy about that? He's going to be my inspiration. Sorry, guys.
Esa Tikkanen is going to be your inspiration.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got a little bit of flu symptoms here, so I got to battle through it. He touches my belly, and he says, "Hey, I've lost weight. I must have given it to you." And if anybody knows Esa Tikkanen, he had a big belly, I'll tell you. So he's my inspiration. If he's saying that to me, I got to lose weight, kid.
Gooch, you and me have been talking about losing weight together for the last 5 years, and if anything, we've gained weight.
Let me wait till I get in shape. All right, quickly. The Toronto Maple Leafs. We had a chance to go with Janine, his wife, and Stephen, and a couple of the boys here to the game. Awful. Like, I got to admit, the first and second period were awful. They gave up 5 breakaways in the first, I guess in the second period. They didn't score on them, but I'll tell you what, this team is in disarray. Obviously, Matthew not playing tonight. They're playing against the LA Kings. Just really quickly, because we are going to do an NHL show and talk about all this, where everybody sits. It's a quarter of the season. A quarter of the season's already done, and the Toronto Maple Leafs are in worse shape than they were last year. Obviously, losing Mitch Marner. Give me a quick summation of what you see from out there.
I see a team that just is not giving an effort. It's almost like they're not listening to Berube. I think Berube's getting really upset. Matthew's being hurt right now. We don't know the extent of it. Will it be long-term? Will he not play for the U.S. in the Olympics? Stoller is not playing great, and now he's potentially hurt. Wall, we still don't know what's going on with that mental health issue. And then they're just an average team. They just do not look solid. And the crazy thing is, I don't know if our good friend Charlene is watching somewhere, wherever she is. Her Montreal Canadiens are ripping it up. They're ripping the East up. But right now, I think every team has to look at what the Colorado Avalanche are doing, Justin's favorite team. The Colorado Avalanche are, I'm telling you, Gooch, and we have this talk all the time, almost every night, Justin and I, because he's a Sydney guy down here, Sidney Crosby in Nova Scotia, played a little with him years ago. If my prediction is right, and the Colorado Avalanche can somehow get Sydney to go there, this team's got the Stanley Cup locked up. Great goaltending, phenomenal defense, incredible offense, great coaching. Oh my God, give him Sidney Crosby and give him the cup.
Hate to break the news.
Yep.
Melbourne Ice is after Sidney Crosby, so I don't think he'll be able to move from it. But
maybe the Canberra Brave are after Sidney Crosby.
No, shh. He doesn't know anything about it. Don't tell him.
Okay, well, he does
All right,
now.
listen, without further ado, this guy's been here traveling Canada. He's obviously been landed in Vancouver, traveled over to Quebec City. You love that city. They've been in Montreal. They've been in Ottawa, and, of course, just recently in Toronto. And what's really cool is he's been able to see all the different arenas. We'll talk to him about that. And he's here on a mission to buy some parts for the AIS, and we'll talk to him about that before we get into the details. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you've been waiting for this guy for a long time. Everywhere we go, I always say, ask him who won last year, and he'll tell you that now. The CEO, the boss, the guy that makes it all happen in Canberra, it is Stephen Campbell. Steve, what's going on?
Thanks, Gooch. Thanks for and Paul, thanks for having me on your show. Well, as you said, I've been here with my wife. We've been here for a few weeks now, and we've pretty much travelled the breadth of Canada and thoroughly enjoyed the experience. It's a wonderful country.
Yeah, so I know that you're here for a couple of reasons. One, the most important reason is, we'll talk about it in a few seconds, about the AIS and the arena and all of those great things. You got a chance to meet Jeff Armerall from Paramount, and I know you're talking about, buying a completely new set of boards and a floor, and so it's been really exciting to walk it through. And of course, a Zamboni we've talked about. I know you've got one in mind. Maybe you can throw that to our people. But if you could just tell us in a short print, you've come here on a mission. The mission went very well. We've had some fun together, but really down and deep, you need to make sure that you're ready for a new season with the AIS. Talk to us a little bit about that opportunity for to be in the country they say is all ice hockey.
Yeah. Well, look, we took a bit of a gamble this year. We decided that we were going to move out of our barn, which we were playing out of. It's, as you know, Kerry, it's a dilapidated place out at Phillip in Canberra. So we looked at negotiating a multi-year deal with the AIS, which is the Australian Institute of Sport. It's a 3,000 seat full bowl arena, and decided that we were going to take a gamble, set up a rink. And many thanks to you, Kerry, for coming across and helping us with the setup. Many of your listeners may not be aware, ice hockey, it's not a tier one sport in Australia, so there's a real lack of facilities to help grow the sport in the country. Anyway, we took a punt, and it was a huge success. We had 11 of our home games there. Everyone sold out, and the purpose for this trip is to make sure that we can get the necessary equipment so that we can do the full season, so 15 home games, to complement our 15 away games in a facility with brand new equipment.
Well, here we are at the beginning of the year, setting this up. In the beginning of the year for the ice hockey, it was in April, where you and I started with a great crew of people, a lot of great volunteers from Canberra, of course, Trevor Hennick, and we can't forget Colin Beckinsale, what they did to help you, and the Camp family. There's so many people that I could name. Unfortunately, we lost a very good partner along the way with Leroy Pedersen just recently. We're all thinking about him. But here's a picture of that facility, and we can just imagine, once you've seen this, it ends up being that. That is the best, most dynamic facility in Australia, and that's not putting the other ones down, because every arena in Australia is very important, as you can attest to, specifically, Stephen. Without facilities, you can't play this great game, and they're very expensive. So walk us through the concept of how you came up with this vision, because I'm the head coach of the Melbourne Ice. My loyalties lie with the Melbourne Ice. Everybody just calm down. I am not signing on to be a coach, a general manager, an owner, anything like that for the Canberra Brave. I really respect you. I respect your organization, but obviously, my loyalties will lie there unless something happens. But right now, I'm all blue, red, and white, as is Paul. But we love your ability to get people together, get them excited, and look at the end result here. So, you know what? I'm going to give you a few minutes. Walk us through this. Your vision. Obviously, you and I met 10 years ago. We talked about you building these incredible facilities. We know that's still in the pipeline. But this is kind of that stepping stone to helping Australian ice hockey, not only the Australian Ice Hockey League, but also the Ice Hockey Australia. It gives them facilities that these young boys and girls can play in, aspire to, and want to play for their local AHL team.
Yeah. Look, my objective was to grow the sport. And I came to the conclusion that you couldn't grow the sport if we continued to do what we've been doing for the last 25, 30, 40 years. We're playing in rinks that most, there are some, but most aren't really set up for a good crowd experience. When I bought Canberra Brave in 2022, I had my eye on the AIS. It had been closed for, initially it was reassigned for vaccinations through the COVID period, but then post that it was being redeveloped. So I was fortunate enough to have some mutual contacts in the AIS and basically pestered the senior management there for close to 12, 18 months. And in the end, they said, look, give this guy a meeting. I think it was more to placate me than anything else, because I don't think there was a true appreciation that there would be the level of support for ice hockey in such a grand venue in the Australian context. Anyway, the first meeting, which they did concede afterwards that they had gone into the meeting saying it would last no more than 2 minutes, and we went for an hour and 40 minutes, and said that at the end of the meeting, this concept had legs. Anyway, as history would show, we got agreement. We signed a multi-year deal. And the first season was a bumper sellout. Even I myself was a little bit surprised at how well the Canberra community embraced ice hockey, and I think the epitome of all that was our final weekend. We sold out the games 3 to 4 weeks in advance, and the local newspaper there, the Canberra Times, they did a story on us, and we were front page, we were middle page, and we were last page, which in the Australian ice hockey context, that's just never occurred before. We even bumped the local rugby team, part of the National Rugby League, off the front page after they had made the minor premiership. So it really demonstrated that the community within Canberra had come around. And Kerry, you're right. None of this would have happened without the volunteers that we had. And a really funny story to tell you. The very first game was delayed for 40 minutes because it was taking so long to get people through the doors. And on the debrief, when we're trying to work out where the critical failure points were, it was actually our volunteers. They were so excited and proud to be in the AIS. They were hugging and they were kissing people as they were coming into the venue. Which slowed down the scanning process, but it just demonstrated how much support there was. The volunteers, they were fantastic. They helped through the setup. They helped through all the logistical matters associated with getting a large number of people through a minimum number of doors. So it's a huge success. We'll be back next year. As you point out, Kerry, part of my mandate for coming across here is not just for holidays, but it's to look at how different venues run their game. So what is that crowd experience like? What's the logistics behind it? So we're doing both front and back of house tours of each of the venues that I've attended, and we'll take some of that back to Australia. And for your listeners, we did a pretty good job. In fact, we've been nominated as finalists in the ACT Government Award for Event Excellence. I get back on the 19th. We're going to an awards night on the 20th of November, and fingers crossed. We'll be successful.
Fantastic. Stephen, I got to ask you a question. So, I've been around the world as you have, as Kerry have. I've been in rinks in the Czech Republic, in Russia, in Sweden, in Norway, in Australia. Just because we say it could happen, just because we want it to happen, just because we wish it could happen, doesn't mean it's going to happen. So I want your response on the way you felt that first game. And even I can speak on when I came down and we had the Ice Hockey Classic, the games we had there, jam-packed. You couldn't get another person in. The cheering for Australia, the cheering for the U.S., the cheering for Canada. When you sit back now and look at, oh my God, what we accomplished, the people that came to those games, whether they were cheering for the Brave or another team, just to get that many people to fall in love with this incredible game of ice hockey, like it was your baby, how proud are you now looking back at what was accomplished?
Oh, incredibly proud. And I have to say, every game was an emotional experience. I wouldn't describe myself as being a necessarily emotional person, but when you've got more than 3,000 people into a rink, you took a punt and it paid off. It was an incredibly vindicating experience. Look, there are always doubters, and we did prove those doubters wrong. But they were the minority. We had a lot of people who were very supportive of making this happen. I think that saying build it and they will come is not necessarily true. I think it would be lovely if that was the case, but there was a lot of work that went behind it. We did. I did 15 interviews in 10 days just to try and spruik support. We did have a lot of support from local media. They really got behind it. We had a fantastic arrangement with Mixed Radio. Canberra Times got behind us. The Riot Act, who are media partners with Canberra Brave. So we did a lot of publication. What we said we needed to do from the onset was the first game had to be perfect in every sense. We needed that crowd engagement. Ice hockey, we love it. We've all been around it for decades, but we were going to bring a whole new group of people to the sport that may not understand the rules, that may have never even seen a game of hockey before. So it was about how do we curate a program of entertainment and sport for the 3+ hours that they would be there. And I really have to take my hat off to Super Curious, Jamie Wilson, Nathan Gregor, Warren Apps. These guys did a fantastic job. We sat down and said, look, we want to, emulate the NHL, but on a much smaller scale in spectator sense. And they did a fantastic job. A lot of people may not have realised that we had broken down game day into 1, 3, and 5 minute increments. Now, it didn't always go to plan, but that was the level of scheduling and the level of thought that had gone into the event, so that we wanted everybody who walked out of that arena thinking or saying, we want to come back to the next game. And I think we nailed it, because people did come back. We think around 80% of all tickets were repeat purchases. And in the end, it got to the stage where you literally couldn't get tickets. In fact, unfortunately, the passing of Leroy is really, really sad. He was a very big supporter and a close friend. He said to me we exchanged text before the last weekend, and he said, mate, I cannot believe this. He said, we're having a watch party. He said, I've never thought I'd see the day where we're going to have a watch party in our pub for a local game because it's sold out. Leroy, brilliant businessman. He was organising buses. He had several buses so that people would go to the Caribou at Kingston for a few primers before the game. He'd bus them out to the game, and then he'd bus them back to the Caribou afterwards to meet and have a drink with the boys after the game. And that was the level of success. You literally could not get tickets. So it was
no doubt about it. And seeing the interaction from your team, from the players, to Leroy, even after that final game. And I got to tell you, I've been around a lot of teams, but your Canberra Brave were a very classy team. You run a classy organization.
Yeah.
Two of my other than the guys I love on the Melbourne ice, and some of the players in the league, two of my favorite players in the entire world were on your team. Alex, your goalie, who I love to death, phenomenal money goalie, and Clarkey, who I think is possibly one of the best players in the league, maybe the best player. I just love that guy.
Yeah. Look, they are lovely gentlemen, and I've said this a few times when we've given speeches to fans after events. The team, every single one of them, they're a lovely bunch of lads, and there's often the personality of players isn't expressed on the ice, obviously, because they're playing physically, and afterwards when they're sharing a drink with their fans, it's humbling.
Yeah,
hey, listen, I want to do some shout outs, if you don't mind. Sven Baker, all the way from Germany, watching Schengruß aus Timmendorf. He's watched it all take place. Sven, thank you for being with us. Good friend out of Winnipeg, Patrick McCabe. Good morning, buddy. Good to see you. And of course, our guy, Karl Heinz. Hey, guys, I know you're still on vacation somewhere around the world. Obviously,
I think it was in Iceland the last time I saw his travels, Heinze.
Then I think he went to Ireland or something like that. Obviously, hockey operations from the Melbourne Ice. Yes, Karl, I'm all blue, red, and white. And what's really important is, we'll be talking with him over the next couple of days as we plan the new year. But I know he would put in the same thing. And congratulate you, Stephen, on doing a marvelous job with Canberra Brave. And we're really looking forward to a repeat of the final. We've done it twice in a row. Let's do it three. No, let's do it three. Give it to us one more time, and then we can discuss. I don't know what your thoughts. Karl, thanks for joining us today. And finally, Corey Katina. Hey, buddy, how you doing? I know it's a morning in Minneapolis. Stephen, obviously, being in Vancouver. I'm in Toronto, and Paul is in some little town in Nova Scotia. We'll all be with you in a couple weeks, or a week or so.
You will, next weekend.
All right, I want to show another picture of it. Look at that. How cool is that? Sold out stadium, AIS Arena. We know that we'll be back there playing against you. We're excited about that. Tell us about, obviously, the trials and tribulations of doing something like this. I know, thank you very much for us, mentioning me and helping, but, it's just something I think every city in Australia could house a 3,500 to 5,000 seat facility for ice hockey and make it a multi-purpose type facility as it is right now. Basketball in your summer and winter, obviously, for ice hockey. Where do you envision next year or this upcoming season? I know it starts a little later. I think it's in the middle of April, your home games start. What do you see as the future of these type of facilities? Look, we're not going to say the luster is worn off, but it's always more entertaining when you add things to it. And I know you've been here in Canada coming up with some ideas. Give us a little bit of if you had a crystal ball, show us and talk to our visitors about where you see this.
I think the successful move to the AIS has demonstrated that there is an appetite for ice hockey. And the only thing that has curbed that appetite has been the lack of good quality facilities. There are some. I mean, Kerry, the Melbourne Ice play in a beautiful facility out in Docklands, Melbourne. But aside from maybe two or three others, most of the facilities are playing in just standard recreational rinks with between 400 and sort of 800 to 1,000 seats. I think what will happen is that other teams will look at the success of the AIS and say, well, hang on, if they can do it, we can do it as well. I've reached out to many of the teams. I'm happy to lend as much support as they need. There's no point just one team playing in full bowl arenas. We want all 10 teams participating in the Australian Ice Hockey League to also play in similar facilities. And what I envisage and what I think will happen is that we will see a massive growth in ice hockey, which will lead to the expansion of the league and teams opting to play in larger sort of multi-thousand seat, and I think that figure, that sort of 3,000 to 5,000 to 8,000 seat arena. I'm actually quite confident. We've got a new convention centre being built in the ACT. Look, it's not scheduled for another sort of 8 years before it's completed. That'll be 8,000 seats. I'm convinced that by the time that is built, we will be in a position to sell that out as well. I think that's the level of support. NHL games now are being streamed on our free-to-air Channel 9 in Australia, one game a week. I think that'll also add to the interest in the game. And look, this probably goes without saying for people in North America a bit, but in Australia, where we've got so many people who have never been to a live game, once you take them to a live game, they're hooked. And it's just a matter of having enough seats for people to come to a game so you can hook them. And the growth for ice hockey in this country is huge.
Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts on the AIS. Congratulations on an incredible job. We're just so excited. We're blessed that we're a part of it in some degree. Of course, again, not changing colors, but I think it's really important that people understand ice hockey is a community. When you lose one, just like Leroy, we all come together to grieve, but we also all come together to celebrate. And of course, nobody celebrated more than this year for us too. Getting the chance. Paul, you and I right there, look in the back. That is called. And Paul, tell Stephen how you've been good. Stephen, you're going to love this one. We've been doing this for years, going after this cup. It's the third oldest. As you know, we were with Phil Pritchard. I'm going to show a picture in a second. And Paul says to me one day, hey, that's a really good looking.
Well, I called it for 2.5 years the good old OLD,
Okay.
the good old cup. And nobody said a word to me. I'm calling it good old cup. I'm talking to everybody. I'm staying in the Docklands. Somebody's walking around and telling them about the games. They come over to the games. They find me, go, oh my God, I saw Canberra play the Mustangs or this or that. It was incredible. I'm coming back. And then finally, I see something and it says the good all cup. And I said to Gooch, I said, have I been pronouncing this wrong for 3 years and nobody said a word to me? Yeah, nobody said a word. It's the good all cup, not the good old cup.
So our good friend Sean Knowles, Paul, you know him from Ice Group, he calls me up after we win and he says, congratulations on winning the Goodwill Cup. Yeah. So a lot of people didn't know, Paul, you've been there with me, of course. We've seen jerseys from Liam Webster in his national, Australian national, Craig Audie. There are jerseys from all over the place. So what I really think is cool is that we celebrate together. So listen, 2 years ago, Stephen, you were the best team in the league, no question. You ended up beating us in the finals 5-0, well-deserved, absolutely through and through. How disappointed. I told you this story, Stephen. Paul, I don't know if I told you that, but I walked through this year the same path to get on the plane in Sydney, and it was a different feeling. 2 years ago, I was somber, I was sad, I was, just thank God I'm not by the Sydney Bridge because I probably jump off it. And then walking down it this year, we got lucky, beating a very good hockey team. I wouldn't say luck; it was all in the planning. Peter Hawthorne, our owner, along with Carl Heinz, put together a formative team. We really put it together. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Paul, remind me, because sometimes I forget, I think we only lost 2 games in regulation, and it was against the Canberra Brave.
In Canberra, we did not lose a game at the Docklands all year.
No, but they kicked us, buddy. It was a
100%. Hey, listen, real quick. With the game they beat us 5-0 and the game we beat them 7-3, 2 great teams, 2 great games. A break here or there. We beat them 2 years ago. A break here or there. They beat us last year. It was just great hockey. Yeah, and all the fans saw it. So the Good Old Cup obviously sits with the Melbourne Ice right now. You've been in the final 4 years in a row. Last year, unfortunately, a jersey was not delivered to the Hockey Hall of Fame, so I had organized that you could at least meet up with a guy named Phil Pritchard. Everybody know Phil takes care of the Stanley Cup. And a lot of people don't realize the Good Old Cup, the original Good Old Cup, is in the Hockey Hall of Fame, very similar to the Stanley Cup. And you and I got a chance.
I've tried hard to get the video. I will put the video up on my site, and you can share it with your people, Stephen, once I edit a little bit more. But look at this. Look at this.
Beautiful.
That is Stephen Campbell from the Canberra Brave with Phil Pritchard, handing him the game-worn jersey. It will go in the display. It'll be archived, and over the next couple of weeks, we will be taking that out. Unfortunately for you and the Canberra Brave, and fantastic for all the Melbourne Ice fans, we'll be doing the exact same presentation. We'll be giving in the Mac Caruana's jersey. We've got a couple other surprises I won't disclose. But talk to us about that whole experience, not only going into the Hockey Hall of Fame. I think it's your first. I think you said you were there a long time ago, but it's brand new, and being there with the inductees. You and I walk in, and you're getting pictures with Doug Gilmour. You got a picture with my favorite, obviously Esa Tikkanen. Standing in front of us was Esa Tikkanen, Jari Kurri, Paul Coffey from all those great days. We met so many people. Obviously, the owner of the Hockey News, Graham Rouston. Talk to us a little bit about that experience. Obviously for Janine, also because sometimes we forget how exciting it is for our partners.
Yeah, look, I think to sum it up, I'd have to say it's a surreal experience. I mean, you're walking amongst players who, for many people, including myself, are hockey idols, and it's particularly being so far removed from the centre of action in Australia, where the NHL and the games, it is quite far removed. But then to be up close and personal with the hockey's greats, and to be walking around the Hockey Hall of Fame during the induction week was pretty phenomenal. There were so many people around. There was an air of excitement and celebration that for anybody involved in hockey, it's nirvana.
Well, it's really cool to see one of our Melbourne Ice fans up. It's 3:30 a.m. morning. Jessica is one of our biggest fans. Thank you for joining us. And William Fay, who was there, Slaint. I think that means hello in Irish.
Yeah, good health. Yeah, it's lunch.
Well, thank you for giving us good health. I just want to touch upon, as we get ready to wrap it up, I want to touch upon, obviously, not only meeting the royalties, but getting the opportunity to meet the NHL was there. We bumped into a young man who gave us their cards. They're the ones that put together the opportunity for the Channel 9 to have the NHL experience. That was fantastic. I know we'll be talking to him over the next couple of weeks. And then, of course, Peter Cortis from the GTHL, as we were there, he expressed to us, and you and I have talked about this before for the AIHL, we want to include the referees. The game needs to grow. Everything's growing. The fan base is growing. The rinks are growing. The imports are growing. The locals are growing. And now we're bringing the referees. And we were made aware of it. As you know, 4 Australian referees have been invited over here to referee in the GTHL, one being our good friend Rob Love, and the other one is Oliver Parkinson's, who's here, and I'll meet next week. How important is that, to be able to talk to people like Peter Curtis, who has a vested interest in helping the referees around the world get better?
I think that shows how big a family hockey is, in that it extends beyond geographic boundaries, where you've got people who are wanting to grow the sport internationally. It's exciting, and I can't think of another sport that does it in the same way. I might be wrong, but there just seems to be a sense of community that ice hockey that is not found in other sports. So the fact that we've got people who are lending a hand and inviting what is a growing sport in Australia to help make it better is wonderful to see, and should be encouraged and congratulated.
Yeah. All right, Paul, final thoughts or question to Stephen Campbell. I know we've got to let him go. He's got to get back into Vancouver. He was at the Winnipeg Jets versus the Vancouver Canucks, and of course my Jets ended up beating Vancouver. So I know him and Janine have to get out in that great city. I know you and I both love Vancouver, love to be there with you. But your final thoughts and question for Stephen.
Yeah, first of all, sorry about that. We just started driving again, and the phone fell off the dash of Justin's car, so you lost me for a second. But I guess the last thing before I see you again in a few months Stephen, in one of my favorite places in the world, other than maybe Canada and where I live. Australia is probably my second home. I tell people all the time, you want to find the second Canada, that's Australia. It's so close to Canada. I love it. Tell our listeners what your favorite, and you've been here for a while, what's your favorite part so far that you've seen of Canada? You're in beautiful West Coast right now.
Oh, that's a tough question. It is, I mean, the experiences are quite different. Loved Quebec City. It was beautiful,
Yep.
but I enjoyed Montreal and Ottawa as well. Toronto, it's a gorgeous city. We were literally staying in an apartment 50 meters from Scotiabank. So, snow's a bit of a novelty for many Australians. So the weather gods looked kindly upon us, and we had the true hockey experience. We walked to a hockey game while Toronto was experiencing 15 centimeters of snow. So it was pretty spectacular. Vancouver, it's a stunning city. I was here last in 2007, and I remember coming back home and my wife wasn't with me at that trip, and I said, Vancouver's got to be one of the most beautiful cities I've ever been to. And coming back, it's every bit as beautiful as it was when I was here in 2007. So that's not a very direct answer. I'm not sure I have a favourite. It's all been a beautiful experience.
Let me ask you one last question. I know Gouche tried to message me, but I'm in the car, so I can't get that. Every time I come down to Australia, it does not fail. One of my family members say to me, Dad, be careful, you might get bit by a snake. And I'm going, where do you think we're going? We're not going to the outback. I'm in Melbourne, I'm in Sydney, I'm in Canberra. I'm not getting bit by a snake. I'm not getting a kangaroo to attack me. What's the one thing maybe that people told you when you were coming to Canada that was like, be careful there, you're going to get stuck in an igloo? Did anybody say that?
No. I think it's funny you say about the snakes. We have been asked many questions around what do you do with all the snakes. I live in suburbia. I live on a creek line. I get snakes in my backyard every season. And in fact, I'm usually pulling out 2 or 3 snakes out of the pool every year. They don't bother you. They're quite shy by nature. Most people who get bitten are typically being idiots trying to kill the snake. So as long as you just let them go, they're not an issue. In terms of Canada, I haven't had anybody who has warned me about the grizzlies or black bears or any other dangerous creatures. I think I may be led to believe that the animals are every bit as accommodating as the people.
The polar bears might not be, but you're not going to see a polar bear in Vancouver.
No, I don't think so. It's a bit warm here today. It's about 10 degrees. Yeah. It's t-shirt and shorts weather.
Yeah, well, it's gorgeous where I am in Nova Scotia. It's beautiful here. There's no snow whatsoever.
We're happy with the snow.
So, Paul, I don't know if you can hear me. I don't know if you can hear me at all. Yes or no? Can you hear me? All right, guys. I can't hear you, unfortunately. Yep. Always having some great technical issues. I just want to thank you, Stephen Campbell, for coming on and sharing not only about the AIS and the project that you've got and many others. Obviously, we won't share them now because there's some secrets in the closet that we're excited to hear about as we go forward. Congratulations on a great year. Congratulations on obviously what you've done for Australia ice hockey with the AIS, and continued success in building, not too much success, but continued success on providing great entertainment, not only in Canberra, but all across Australia and the world as we see it on AIHL TV. Stephen, you're a true warrior.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your help. Cheers, guys.
Bye. Safe travels.
Stephen. See you in the final next
Paul,
year.
I can't hear you, so all I'm going to do is wrap this up. Hey, what a great opportunity. Okay. Obviously, we see visionaries in the sport. Obviously, we've seen Stephen and what he did. You got to live it live, as I did. Certainly, we look forward to a growing success in Australia. We're going to be bringing back the Ice Hockey Classic. We're going to be announcing some of those opportunities. We're going to tell you where the cities are. We won't tell you any about that right now because we'll wait to obviously share that within the next couple of weeks as we continue on growing the game of ice hockey. Paul Rosen, I'll see you next Thursday, I guess. I'm in Halifax, and then Friday we're together. And please say hi to Justin. Hey, you've been watching Gooch Live right here with the Gouche and Rosey Show, brought to you by the good people at the Hockey News, and of course, our friends at the Bottom Line, where we shared a couple of glasses of wine with our friend, of course, Stephen and his wife. Later.
You've been listening to Gooch Live with your host, Kerry Goulet, better known as The Gooch, brought to you by the Hockey News and Sports Illustrated.